looking at the sea and the waves around the ship. And I thought, if I saw Jesus now on that water, asking me to leave the ship, would I have the courage not to leave the ship, to open the door of the bridge, let alone leaving the ship?
Well, welcome back to the Life Explored podcast. And today we are very, very privileged to have Nadim Nasar, Dr. Nadim Nasar, or Father Nadim Nasar. Which should I call you?
Nadim.
Just Nadim.
Nadim is good.
But yes, Nadim is the Executive Director and founder of the Awareness Foundation. It's an international educational charity. It was established in 2003 with Bishop Michael Marshall, correct? You are the first and only Syrian priest from the Church of England.
Yes, for my sins.
You've previously served as a senior chaplain to University and College London.
Universities
and colleges in London. Sorry, yes, and London School of Economics as well, included in that. You are an influential voice. You've advised you advised the UK Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and you're a member of several interfaith and religious freedom groups. Author of The Culture of God. As well, which is a book you released recently, I believe.
2018.
Or 2018. Okay, so yeah.
And another book. It's called I, Jesus.
I, Jesus. Yes.
Like iPhone and iPad. I, Jesus.
Yes, I got that here as well. I, Jesus, The Culture of God in a Digital World.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that more recent, that one?
Yes, more recent.
Yeah. You studied theology at the Near East School of Theology in Beirut. That was from 1981 to 1988.
Yes.
You have a PhD in systematic theology from Göttingen University. Is that right?
Yeah, I studied, but I didn't graduate from there.
Oh, you didn't go, okay.
So in Göttingen.
Göttingen. Yes. And that was focused on the paradox of justice and mercy of God. Yes. And you have received an honorary Doctor of Divinity degree as well from Trinity College in Toronto, University of Toronto.
Yes. Where did you get all this information from?
Well, you're a very public figure, I'd say, so it's out there. Your real focus, your passion is on building peace through education, dialogue, and reconciliation, especially with the conflict in the Middle East. That's various conflicts that have happened over the last 2 decades or more, actually more decades than that, right? And you're dedicated to empowering young people and children in war zones, in particular like Syria and Iraq. You've got your programs like Ambassadors for Peace, Little Heroes, which aims to equip these children to be agents of peace in their communities as well. You're a firm believer in dialogue. The only path to resolve conflict is through dialogue between enemies.
Because friends don't need dialogue.
Yeah.
Friends need fellowship, conversation, time to spend together.
Mm-hmm.
But only when you have a conflict with somebody, you need to establish a dialogue. That's what I stress.
Yes, and you've actually challenged politicians and religious leaders on the basis of needing to do more in this regard as well.
They need to be challenged all the time.
Yeah, well, I think we all do, don't we?
Yes.
But yes, especially our leaders. They definitely need to be held to account. So you were born in, now let me say this right, Latakia.
Yes.
Latakia in Syria. You grew up in a large Christian family, 6 children.
Yes.
Two sets of twins as well.
Yes.
And it was a Mediterranean coastal town. Your mother was Greek Orthodox. Your father was Presbyterian. Were they both Syrian, or did they come
Yes.
from? Yeah.
Both Syrians.
Your sister Huda, is that correct? And she serves Huda Nasar. She serves as the director for Middle East, director for the Middle East for the Awareness Foundation as well. And she travels there and leads programs in Syria and Iraq. Your family is now sort of scattered across various countries, but you still have strong connections and.
We have 5 passports in the family.
Right.
We are all Syrians. We have an American passport, Dutch passport, Holland,
Yeah.
a British passport, and German passport. We have 5 passports in the family.
Right. So wherever you go, you can always. Well, you're pretty much there. You can cover the globe, can't you?
Yes.
So, you know. So we'll start off then. So that's a long introduction. So thank you for bearing with me as I went through that. Did I miss anything? That's the question. We'll find out.
Yes.
So we'll start off, I think, just asking you very basically, you know, what it was like growing up near the Mediterranean port city of Latakia, and what it was like for you.
Well, Latakia is a as you said, portal city. So I was very, very close to the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And my friends still call me, my close friends, I was known by the son of the sea. And in Arabic, it's Ibn al-Bahr, 2 words only. So, because I felt and I still feel this belonging to that incredible blue giant that I grew up at its shores. And the effect of the sea on people is incredibly powerful and incredibly subtle. But if you study the people who live by the sea, you see the difference or the differences between them and the people who never lived by the sea. The psychology is different, the way of thinking is different. The sea gives you openness, it gives you passion, because the sea is unpredictable. The sea is 1 minute explosive and 1 minute beautifully peaceful. The sunset it can be blood all over the sea, and it can be romantic. So this changing of the mood constantly by the sea affects all the people that live by the sea. And that has affected me and formed my personality.
It's a little bit what you're describing there is life.
Yes,
all
indeed.
Kind of the different
Yes.
Phases
Yes.
and things that we go through in life.
And even Beirut is a Mediterranean city. So when I left Latakia to study, I left Latakia to Beirut, and both are Mediterranean ports. So only when I came to Europe, I left this womb of warmth and passion and emotions of the sea.
So you say it affects people. Can you give like an example of?
Yes, if you go to Latakia, the people are more open to different people, different cultures, different ideas. People are more adventurous because the sea is an adventure in itself. I remember when I went on the ship for a journey with my brother, who was a captain of a ship. And it was the ultimate expression for me after living by the sea. It was the ultimate embodiment of being one with the sea when I was on the ship with my brother. And I remember one day, I was 2 months. That journey, took me for the first time in my life to Europe. So from Latakia, through the Mediterranean Sea, out from Gibraltar to the open sea to Europe. So when we were in the North Sea, my brother called me from the bridge and said, "You must come now to the bridge." And the whole time I used to be with my brother on the bridge when it was his shift. I thought, why now? So I went to him, and it was night, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I opened the door of the bridge, and the bridge is all glass. And suddenly I saw the sky like veins of light invading the sky with lightning.
Lightning, yeah.
And it was a huge storm. Huge storm.
Wow.
And I have to say, I mean, I grew up by the sea, but my heart sank. And I looked at my brother. He was like a dove, peaceful, and didn't mean to him
Like Jesus in the boat. Just...
yeah, it's just he was doing his job as a captain. I took a deep breath and I looked. He said, "This is why I brought you here. You have to see this." And it was an incredible sight. And then I remembered, I vividly remember now how I felt. I felt, what was it like when Peter and the disciples were on the ship and they saw Jesus walking on the water, and he ordered Peter to leave the ship and walk towards him. And I thought, looking at the sea and the waves around the ship, and I thought, if I saw Jesus now on that water, asking me to leave the ship, would I have the courage not to leave the ship, to open the door of the bridge, let alone leaving the ship? Sometimes we don't appreciate some things we read, some things we believe, until you are faced so closely to the reality that makes you stop and think. And it made me stop and think. Yes, we are the people of the sea. We are different. We think in a different way. We are more adventurous. We are more open to the world. For example, in Latakia, we used to have about 15 to 20 channels, TV channels, talking about before internet, before satellite. We used to get Egypt, channels from Egypt, Greece, Cyprus, Lebanon. So different channels from around. If you go to Aleppo, they were lucky if they got a couple of channels from Turkey, and nobody understood Turkish anyway. So we are open to the world more, and that's how I experienced the sea in my own life.
I think also when you're describing the sea and the kind of the big open, the big, what did you call it, the blue giant, there's an element of, I think, looking out at sea, it's kind of just the horizon.
Yes.
It's like, it's sort of like almost like what's beyond there. It's sort of, it's such a, so I think it would invoke that sense of adventure. Whereas if you grew up in a town, like Rugby, for example, you sort of everything feels very close and very familiar. And I think just being out there, I get the same experience when I've gone hiking and gone in the mountains. Is you get to the top of the mountain, you look out, you're bowled over by the
Suddenly,
this huge
scene.
and it takes your breath away. Again, it kind of, I don't know what it invokes something in you, doesn't it, in your spirit? So,
And one of the things that the unreal thing that we see in life that challenges you all the time is the horizon. The horizon is there, but it's not there. Because the more you want to reach the horizon moves further and further. So it is there for you, for your eyes. The line of the horizon is there, but actually it's not there. There is nothing called horizon. So
it's just as far as you can see.
It's the limitation of your eyes. And I remember I wrote, I used to write poetry in Arabic, and I wrote like a myth of an alternative myth of creation, and that myth was a love story between silence and infinity. When silence stood by the sea and looked at the infinity, it fell in love with the infinity, and they both started the journey to meet. And in that journey, the creation came about, and finally they met. Can you imagine where?
Good question.
Where does infinity meet silence?
Where does infinity meet silence?
In the depth of the sea, where silence and infinity. And in that journey, I wrote like songs of the creation. And one of the songs was sang by the horizon, which is real and unreal. All comes out of the influence and the power of the sea.
It's interesting you talk about creation as well, because it doesn't say in the beginning God's spirit was hovering over the waters. Yeah. Have you ever read like any works of C.S. Lewis?
Yes, of course.
Did you hear about about his space trilogy?
Yes.
Have you read the Perelandra novel?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because it almost evokes a little bit of that for me as well.
Yes,
I really love that story, the Perelandra.
That's fantastic.
The alternate.
C.S. Lewis is a philosopher as much as he was a theologian, as well as a deep believer, and I think one of the pillars of Christianity in this country.
But yeah, I'd definitely say so. Yes, and I think more influential than people give him credit for as well.
Yes, that's true.
There's a lot of people just know him for the Chronicle of Narnia. Yeah. Don't realize he did a lot of theology, and he reasoned himself into belief as well, because he was an atheist or agnostic, or and he kind of went through a process of reasoning, which led him to faith.
And that is the proper agnostic for me, is the person who seeks. I admire the journey, but whatever the journey ends up with, I admire the journey itself. C.S. Lewis found Christ, but some other agnostics didn't find Christ yet, or didn't find Christ at all. For me, the journey is worth it also, because God makes a journey towards us all the time, every day, because God doesn't want to meet us in the past, and doesn't want to meet us in the present. God always wants to meet us in his future, which for us is the past, the present, and the future. That is the future of God.
This is getting very deep, very quickly. So I need to unpack that a bit. So so for me, God exists almost outside of time,
Yes,
and I feel
definitely.
like he's in the past, the present, and the future.
Yes.
Um,
When we say past, present, and future,
mhm,
we talk about time.
mm,
When we talk about God being outside time, it
mm,
means there is no past, there is no present, and there
mm,
is no future.
mm.
Because any involvement of temporal language would limit God.
Yeah. I feel like this is probably going to get into sort of that debate again of we're going to get into the Calvinism debate, aren't we? But I don't want to. but I feel like almost like if time is a linear thing which goes from A to B, but God at any point is sort of can access it at any point if you get my meaning, and almost kind of, so he has been active in the past, and almost you could say he is active in the past, perhaps, or we're getting into sort of quantum
Language.
mechanics.
I wanted to say that's exactly what you said.
Yeah.
You said from A to B.
Yeah.
Uh, God doesn't work from A to B.
Mm.
Uh, for God is like in quantum physics, trying to measure the light. When you try to measure the light as a wave, the light changes into particles.
Yes, that's the theory of so I can't remember the name of the actual theory, but um it's the Schrodinger's cat.
Yes, and
Yeah.
the light,
Mm.
and you say, okay, to the light, you want to be particles, let me measure you
Mm.
as particles.
Mm-hmm.
So you try to measure the light as
Mm-hmm.
particles, and the light says, no, I'm a wave.
Mm.
So is the light a wave or particles? But also, why not both at the same time? So now we know there can be two molecules in the universe connected to each other instantly, even if the two particles or molecules are in the two opposite ends of the universe. They would be instantly connected.
Yeah.
Which is beyond what Einstein talked about, the light as the fastest thing in the universe. No, that's not true.
No.
Because quantum physics breaks the boundaries of Newtonian physics. Well, you may say, what do you have to do with that as a priest? I tell you something very important for me and crazy. Unless we switch in talking about God to quantum physics language, we would never make any progress in theology. Because the language today to speak about God is beyond time, beyond space, in time, in space. At the same time, it's like the light. And therefore, any expression of a linear time is a blasphemy in the language of God.
Mm-hmm.
Because God is in time and beyond time at the same time. And this is how we need to approach God in the quantum physics language.
That is a very bold claim, but I do think there is truth in what you're saying, because I've obviously done a little bit of reading and of this, and I know that there's the idea of the speed of light.
Mhm.
If we could actually travel the speed of light, it would I think in a sense you would almost run out of light. You wouldn't be able to see anything.
Yes.
So, but there's also this idea that if we travel so fast, you end up. So if you imagine again that sort of that linearness, if you're traveling through time so fast, you can be in two places at once.
Yes.
or many places at once.
And that is
one place and many places.
the multiple dimensions
Yes.
that the quantum physics suggests.
And in a sense, that it gets back to that's a way to think about God, isn't it? How
Yes.
He can be in many places and
At the
one
one
place
time.
at the same time.
But also, we need to understand that the speed of light, if you, what Einstein says, if you go beyond the speed of light, you go back in time. But if you go, I'm a Star Trek fan. So if we take the warp drive on the starship seriously, scientifically, you go beyond the challenge of covering an incredible amount of space within no time without going back in time. So because space can be folded,
Yes. Yeah.
A and B,
Yeah.
you don't have to rush between A and B with the ultimate time speed. There is no speed here. There is, you fold the space and you jump from A to B. And this has nothing to do with the speed of light. This is what the whole concept of the warp drive in Star Trek.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It surprises me that you're. It surprises me that you're a bit of a nerd, a nerd for this kind of thing, because it didn't come up in my research at all.
because you have to explore new ways all the time to speak about something unspeakable.
Yes,
about God,
it's
about
very difficult
your faith.
It's very difficult for us to really get our heads around, right?
Because people challenge us all the time about the Trinity, for example. When we talk about the Trinity, three in one, one in three. Yes. I love the German language when it comes to theological expressions. We have an expression in German which means three in one word. Dreieinigkeit.
Yes.
Drei, it means three.
Yeah, drei.
Ein is one.
Yeah.
Kite makes it one.
Yeah.
It's a noun. So you are saying in German, three in one ness. It's one word. So the more we explore the language and science, because science informs our language. Why? Because we develop our language to cover the new inventions, the new explorations. So our languages stretch as much as our knowledge stretches. So when our language stretches, then we have to adapt that into our theological mind and stretch it also. And this is what we should do.
I really do like this idea of being a little, using some of that language from quantum mechanics, from science, whatever. And I really think Christians should read up on these things, at least to a level where they can understand the concepts. I love the idea of bringing a bit more sci-fi into.
And don't forget, if you want to speak to young people, and who would you would like them to understand you, you need to upgrade the way you express yourself. Now we're talking about quantum computers, correct? Yeah. Everybody's talking about quantum computers. So why not quantum theology?
Quantum theology. There you go. I think you coined a new term. It's good. It's good. I really wish I had the brain for it to explore more. I mean, we could talk about what you think about artificial intelligence. Especially with the generative AI that's taking place now, and how you feel that kind of what insights do you have on that?
I look at the AI exactly. I used to look at the internet because in my short life, and I'm 61. I'm not 161. I'm just 61, and in my lifetime, I lived without a phone and with a black and white TV. In Syria, the whole idea of TV started in the 60s. Okay? In the 70s, my family brought the first black and white TV. The first phone we had in the family, it was 1978. I remember very well. And it was absolutely incredible. We spent hours on the phone with this wire and with the disc. And I saw something so funny on Instagram. They brought 3 children in about 10, 12, and they put the old phones in front of them. And they said, what are they? And they looked at each other, and what is this? And it was very interesting. You know what they looked for?
They were looking for a screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
They looked everywhere, and they expected they would push something and a screen will appear, because they could not imagine anything without a screen. We are the screen people. And they couldn't figure out how it worked. For me, it was, I lived before it. And imagine from that phone to a phone that it folds, or you can roll to the internet and all this. AI is not something unthinkable, because when internet came, the same questions we asked ourselves. What do you think about the internet? Our life will change. Yes, it did change. In the 90s, when all the internet started and the email and I do you know what telex is?
Telex. Yeah, I feel like I should, but no.
No, you don't. But it's not your time. But I used to send telex to my family to say I'm well. It's a strip of paper.
Right.
And the telex machine makes holes in that strip of paper, and then you feed the strip of paper into another machine to translate it into words. And after that came the fax, the telefax, which was incredible. You make a copy here and it appears somewhere else.
Fax machines and stuff.
The telefax was really fantastic for many years, until the internet came and the email and all this, sending picture, all this. But I went in my short life, I went through all that. And people who only were born in the 80s, they don't remember all that. They remember the internet, and they couldn't believe that there was life before the internet.
Yeah.
But there was life before internet.
How did you
live?
Knowing things.
Yes, exactly. You said something very important. Knowing, knowledge. In the past, we used to say knowledge is power. Today, it's not knowledge is power. The power lies in the way how to use the knowledge. Because the piece of knowledge is there. But what do you do with it? This is the question. But in the past, I wish I would know this. But now the piece of knowledge is not the biggest problem. You can build an atomic bomb from the internet. The knowledge is there.
But they're telling us that what's interesting about the paradox of that is they're telling us it's making us all dumber. Because what's happening, I've done some research on people using ChatGPT, for example.
Yes.
And it's like, after using ChatGPT for a period of time, the people who had to answer a question traditionally versus the people who use ChatGPT, they've measured their brain waves, and it's like you're using less of your brain, and they could recall less as well. And I certainly, I use it extensively now, because on the one hand, it makes me much more efficient and faster getting things done. But I do realize that I'm kind of not retaining as much information.
Yes.
Because it's like almost like I'm saying, well, it's there when I need it.
So how many phone numbers do you remember?
I
Other
remember
than
two.
yours.
Mine and my wife's.
I remember only mine. My sister, I don't remember
Wow,
her
yeah,
phone. We used to remember tens of
yeah.
of
That's
phone
true. Yeah,
numbers
it's true for your friends. Yeah,
before.
yeah, friends and family. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So yes, the brain is used less, but not
Mm,
necessarily. Not necessarily. If we train our brain to think differently,
mm,
if we insist on using our brains in the same way, this is the danger, because we will think less and our brains will be lazier and lazier. But if we train our brains to think not less or more, to think in a different way, like what we said, thinking about God in the same way, it will be exhausted. So it's not about thinking about God more or less and trying to find within the ways that we know how to do more. No, it's not more or less. It's deciding to think differently.
Do you think, though, that something has been lost? Thinking back to your days sitting by the Mediterranean and looking out to the sea, that kind of vastness, the silence.
Yes.
You think something is being lost in the world we are now, where we just have so much information? And actually, if you go down to the sea now, you're probably going to find people with phones.
Yes,
They're going to
of
be
course.
recording, or they'll be listening or watching
Yes.
something. There's something missing from when we were younger. I mean, when I grew up in the 80s, and I remember, like, if there was only 4 channels on TV.
Yes.
If you're bored, you read a book or you go out,
Out.
and you didn't have a phone. You had,
A book
you
or
know,
a game.
or be on your bike,
Yeah.
and you just go mess around in the forest or whatever, and just try and find things to do and get up to no good.
Yes.
It's something that maybe has been lost there. Do you think?
It is lost. I taught myself how to paint because I felt it's a fascinating world that I didn't want to miss. And I I taught myself how to paint, and I love it. And it's so therapeutic. When I paint, I forget the world totally.
It's a bit like again, I guess it's again having that sort of silence, and painting something takes time, you know, and to kind of bring that back to that analogy of using AI. I mean, now we can just go and instantly, if I want a picture painted, I could go just type it in. I want this kind of picture, do it in the style of
Yeah,
Rembrandt,
of
boom.
course. Yes.
But the idea of taking that time to stop, get a paper, a brush, and just and paint,
And
you
the
can make
colors.
mistakes.
Yeah. And also you have to understand in painting, there is nothing called mistake. And how you express yourself reflects your inner self. But there is absolutely nothing called right and wrong.
I feel like we're getting into theology here again, aren't we? There's
Yes. Yes.
because we had this discussion on one of our episodes a while ago, and where we're talking about, I was trying to talk about the idea of God as a creator,
Mhm.
as a creative, and using that idea, the analogy of painting, and mistakes that God might make are not mistakes, or they can, or at least where things seem to go wrong, they can be used for something else. So when you say, so if we're talking about painting a picture, and you say there's no such thing as a mistake, how do you, so if you have, when you're creating this picture, and let's say you I don't know, use the wrong color, or use the wrong brush size or something like that, what do you mean by there's no mistakes, as in how?
What I mean is, according to who is the mistake? According to the reality? And who says what the way you see reality you is the correct way. Reality is perceived according to each one's perspective. So if you and I go to a football match and we see a goal scored, and I support the team which lost 1-0, and you support the team which won 1-0, I would see the goal in a completely different way from you. Although we witnessed the same incident.
We'd have different feelings about it as well.
Feelings, different interpretations, different judgment, different appreciation. So who would say, I am right, you are wrong, or I'm wrong, you are right? So when you say in this painting, oh, I think this is a mistake. The minute you say that, the artist could say, oh, really? But I meant it. I meant to do that. You stop.
Yes, because
you think, who am I?
Yeah.
To talk about a mistake in art. For example, Michelangelo, he created this incredible statue of Moses, which made me cry the first time I saw it.
Where is that?
In Italy, in Rome.
In Rome. I know a statue of David, and I know the city
in Florence, in Academia, the statue of David.
Okay.
But Moses is in Rome.
Okay.
So I studied art as minor to the theology. I studied theology as my major, and art and theater was my minor. Art appreciation. So when I entered the church and I turned to see Moses, I cried. I couldn't hold my tears because I studied this statue for years. And suddenly it is in front of me. And the statue has horns. And
right.
Some critiques, they say, well, it was a mistake of how Michelangelo read the scriptures with horns. But actually, it is Michelangelo's perspective on the scriptures. Who would say?
Where does that come from? Sorry,
It comes from the Old Testament.
Yeah.
That he had like horns in the sense of light and there is a sentence.
Is it language?
It's a language playing with the words.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And I looked at it. I said, well, who would judge? And if you look at Francis Bacon, how he the dimensions of per people in his paintings, said he didn't know in his life what it means to be human, but this is his way to express his understanding of humanity. If you look at Dali, the paintings of the surrealism, these are treasures, human treasures, but they are beyond the familiar, beyond what we call art in the simplest way, that right and wrong and who decides?
He decides. It's good. So that has been a very interesting subject so far.
And who decides your faith? I always say when I preach the word of God, I say every one of us in the whole universe, in the whole world, we as humans, we have each one has a different fingerprint, all right?
Yes.
And I believe every single one has a fingerprint of faith. Even if we belong to the same church, to the same faith, to the same community, to the same group, we still, each one of us understands God in their own unique, specific way that cannot be shared with anyone in the world.
One of your passionate things about is a dialogue with enemies. So maybe we can talk a little bit about this, particularly because I know you also are very much involved with, or you've spoken in the past about coexistence. You're involved with some interfaith initiatives and everything. So I think it'd be very interesting to know, how. I've got two questions here, but maybe I'll combine them into one. Because particularly the conflict right now in Syria, I believe. Now I'm quite ignorant to this, other than what I hear on the news and the things I pick up. But I believe it is Islamic fundamentalists who are slaughtering Christians at the moment. So we have a lot of Muslims in this country. Largely peaceful, but we do have some elements of that as well, and problems definitely. Obviously we all know the last 2 decades of, across the world, all sorts going on.
Yeah.
But so I'm trying to combine two questions here, but how, what critical things do you think Christians can do to reach out to Muslims, particularly perhaps where there is this conflict? And also, how do you find in the kind of the interfaith dialogue, how do you find evangelism fitting into that as well?
Look, fanaticism exists in every religion. And I'm not trying to defend anybody and not attacking anybody. It's a fact. Every faith in the world, every religion in the world has those fanatics who try to eliminate those who are different. We have to find a departure point to talk about it. The departure point is diversity. The departure point is that as believers, God created the universe, and the main essential message He wants to send us is diversity is His will. And diversity belongs to His own culture and mind. And the more we digest that, and the more we wrestle with it, the closer we get to Him, and the easier we find peace. So the departure point is diversity. Fanatics, they reject diversity. If you are not like me, you have even no right to exist. You see the point? The point is existential. If you are not like me, you have no right even to live. And because of that, God becomes a monster. But for the fanatic, for me as a fanatic, I'm getting constantly those brainwashing messages from religious leaders, political leaders, the joining of politics and religion, and directing my mind to eliminate you and to consider you a threat, not to me, a threat to God. Because those fanatics, they think they are protecting God. by eliminating you. So fanaticism is a social problem as much as a religious problem. Look at Afghanistan. Look at Syria at the moment. They want all women to dress the same. Why? Because they treat women as a sexual object. And by uncovering their bodies, they move my instincts.
Yeah.
And as a man,
Uncontrollable.
so they assume that I cannot control my instincts. Yes. Well, who told you that? So you see, the diversity is rejected again. All women should be dressed the same. All men should have beards. They stop men without beards in Syria and say, religion requires you to have beards. Why don't you have a beard? So this uniformity over against diversity. And from there starts the problem, because we are unable to deal with that we are different. And we are unable to deal that differences are a blessing, not a curse.
I think that's a difficulty, especially for if you are, I don't want to call you a media personality. I don't want to offend you that way, but I think
public figure.
You're a public figure, and I think the risk for someone like you, but any of us really, is it's exactly what you said. You criticize one state because you're criticizing the actions.
You are criticizing the whole religion.
Where we are right now, in the West at least, I don't know what it's like in places like Syria now, but in the West in particular, it's like, well, oh, you've criticized those guys, so now you're on that side, you're on that team, you know. Whereas actually, what you're saying is you know, you can criticize something, you can even support something, you know, like. For example, I could criticize the UK government,
of course,
but I don't want it to collapse.
No,
I don't want the UK to fall into anarchy. But I can criticize UK government, you know, the state, you know, and how they're doing things, because I want the country to be successful, right? You know, and I think that's what people miss.
If we talk about ourselves. We have the established church, okay? So does it mean every time I criticize the Church of England, I'm criticizing the king? Or the monarchy? It's ridiculous. Nobody understands that in this country. Because when you criticize the church, you criticize the church. When you criticize the monarchy, you criticize the monarchy.
But going back to that whole expression of God again, of like who your God is, we have so many denominations as well. And I think there's a lot of people in this country who was, let's just say, I mean, there are people in this country who call themselves Christian, but they call themselves nominally Christian. They don't go to church. They don't believe in God. They just think, oh, I'm in a Christian,
socially
Christian air quotes country. I think there's a lot of people like that. There's also a lot of people in society, in Western society, who don't realize that the church is not the church, you know, and they might, sometimes you see criticisms of Christians or of the church, and it's like, but what we're actually criticizing is maybe the actions of one denomination, or even just a you know, some group, you know, and they don't realize that there's all this expression, there's even sort of disagreements between these people in the church, and there's the freedom of that. I don't know, let's use Islam because it is the, you know, nearest neighbor sort of thing, but I don't know if that's the same in Islam. I know there's like maybe a couple of groups in Islam, or 2 or 3 groups. There's the Sunnis and the Shias, and I believe they have a different theology. But it doesn't seem like there's more that diversity of thought. Would that be correct to say?
Yes, but the problem with Islam is, if you are not like me, I would kill you.
Yeah.
It's like if you are Catholic and you are Orthodox or Protestant, if you're not Protestant, you have no right to exist or to live. This is the problem. Back to diversity. I mean, who are you to cast the death sentence on people who are not like you? But the problem is the back to politics is the manipulation of politics to religion. Politicians love to manipulate religion, especially in the Middle East, because in the Middle East we are very, very, very superficially religious. I tell you an example. For example, here is a person called George, okay, and who never ever has gone or visited a church in his life. He doesn't know God. He never read the Bible. He has nothing to do with Christianity. His name is George. His name is a Christian name. And this person is in Syria or Lebanon or Jordan or Palestine or wherever. Go to this George and insult Christ in front of him. In 1 second, George becomes more Christian than Christ.
Yeah.
And would beat you to death because you offended his religion. George, wake up. You don't believe in God. You've never been in the church. Oh, well, yes, but he offended Christ. Well, who are you to defend Christ? And it's the same with Islam. It's the same with Judaism. It's the same with... This is the Middle East. Once you stir religion, the result is fire. And the problem in the Middle East that when this fire erupts, it throws lava around the world.
Oh, it's a volcano.
It's like a volcano. The lava goes all over the world.
We get it all, yeah.
That's the problem in the Middle East.
Going from, I want to take it down a notch. I want to go from sort of, we've been talking a lot about politics and everything, but I want to go back to this kind of this idea that, it's like if you differ from me, you're dealing with a fanatic. And we do have fanatics in this country and in various other places, and we know that's happening. We see news headlines every day. As from your perspective, how do you reach somebody if you're sitting across the table right now from somebody who's saying, if it wasn't for the law in this country right now, I would kill you, right? How do you start with reaching that person and trying to build the dialogue, or trying to almost get them to come down from that place where they're at?
Position. This is you put your finger on a very, very raw nerve for me. I retreated a lot from interfaith activities because it has become a show. Interfaith communication has become in this country a show, and not only in this country, around the world. For decades, I was very involved and I believed passionately about in interfaith dialogue. But the problem with that is exactly what you said, that we sit and talk and initiate dialogue with people who agree with each other. The same faces. We sit and talk about the same things. We agree all the time with each other. And we leave with nothing but with some pictures for the social media. And we end up with the same problems. Why do we do that? We do that because we do not sit with the different people, with those who want to eliminate us. We don't want problems. We don't want to create or stir conflicts. Nobody wants conflicts. Okay, live with it. But actually, the true interfaith dialogue should be between the factions that kill each other, hate each other. who are enemies. But usually we come together, all the people from every faith, that we know each other, we love each other, we agree with each other, and we sit and everything hanky-dory. Fantastic. We take pictures and we go. For years, I have experienced this image of interfaith dialogue in this country and beyond. In the Middle East, in America, they do this huge interfaith conferences. I stopped going. Because it's ridiculous. You sit with the people you agree with in the first place. Why should I agree with them again and again and again and say you are lovely and great and I agree with you, and you say, oh, you are more lovely and I agree more with you. So what do we get? We get more fanatics, more people dying because they belong to a certain religion or certain faith. We have less freedom of religion in the world. We have more refugees. What have we done? I'm very critical.
If I was to, so which is totally understandable. It's interesting for you to say that, that the interfaith dialogues haven't worked so far because of that, because it's just getting people who agree with each of us. But what I'm thinking of more of is like, if we could sort of like on the ground level, let's just say I was to sort of, we're having a discussion now. Let's say I was to say, well, look, I think all men should have beards, and I think those men who don't have beards, we should probably lock them up, or there's something wrong with them. We should do something about that, and you would not support that position. How do you reach out to me? How do you talk to me?
I would talk usually the best way to talk with someone who is radically different and 180% different is to not to try immediately to find a common ground.
That's interesting.
Not immediately. Is to ask them to clarify their position.
Right.
More and more and more. By slowly putting some challenge or challenges through the questions for you, for me, to understand your point. I'm not judging you. All my questions are to get to know your position. I may agree with you at the end that all men should have beard. But before I agree with you or not agree with you, convince me. So, as you speak, I try to find ways in which I can talk to you. I can approach you. And I say, okay, now I understand you. Are you able to listen to me? Are you able to, don't agree with me at all, but let's put both views, both positions on the table. And we may not find a solution, but at least you know what I believe and I know what you believe, so that we get to know each other better. And in that way, we can break the ice. Because many people try to jump into finding a common ground.
Right, yeah.
But sometimes there is no common ground. What do? You kill the other person? So the best way is to get to know them better. I had a fantastic dialogue in Beirut with someone who was a street fighter. He used to come. I had more than one street fighters in my youth group. First, he was a Muslim. He wanted to be part of the youth group because he heard a lot about it. Second, when he came to the meeting of the youth group, he put his hand grenades his gun
Wow.
and his dagger in the drawer of the reception at the School of Theology. We had a deep drawer. He would put all his stuff in the drawer and go up to attend the youth group.
Wow.
So, and we talked. I didn't try to say you're wrong.
Mm.
I never
That'd be
said that.
tempting, wouldn't it? I think,
yes, of course you are tempted to say that.
you know.
But we opened a discussion for 2 years. Christianity and violence. 2 years. By the end, he dropped the guns, he dropped his grenades, and now he is a fantastic TV director in one of the Arab world's countries. And he's a dear friend. I love him to death.
And that's not through trying to find a common ground.
No.
That's through trying to understand
Trying to understand
what his perspective was.
And he tried. I give him credit because he tried also to understand our position.
Mm-hmm.
We had no common ground whatsoever. But at the end, he did not become Christian. But he dropped the gun. And for me, enough. He stopped fighting. He stopped killing. He stopped harming anybody. And it happened with 5 people. I remember one of the heads of the militias in the area of the School of Theology. I mean, in the 80s in Beirut, it was hell. Totally hell. 5 or 6 times I was that close to death. I was about to be killed. Not once, not twice. 5 times, 6 times. Very close to death. And one of the militia's heads came to the School of Theology and said, I want to meet Nadim Nasar. And I came, I said, yes. He said, I want to attend the youth group you are leading. I said, you're welcome. I said, but you have to put your grenades and your gun in the drawer. He said, what drawer? I said, come and see. So I opened. He saw. He said, who is there? I said, well, this is the condition. If you want to attend, you can't attend with your guns, with your weapons. This is the only condition. He said, but my gun is very expensive. I said, don't worry, we will not steal it. We're not interested in stealing an expensive gun. And it was like a silver gun, beautiful gun. Well, no gun is beautiful, but it's
if guns were beautiful.
Yes, if guns were beautiful, it would have been beautiful. So he thought it was difficult for him. He said, I've never done that. I said, sorry, this is the only condition. He said, okay, I'll do that because I'm so curious. So he put all his stuff in the famous drawer of guns and weapons, and he came up and he attended the youth meeting, and I welcomed him, and nothing changed. We went on as planned with the meeting. At the end, he came down. He took his stuff, dangerous stuff. He shook my hand very strongly, and he said, one day, I hope and pray, and I'm not a believer, that those folks would protect those people from being like me.
Wow.
I said, it's never too late to drop the gun. I said, well, maybe one day. And I never saw him again. I think this is what I believe dialogue is. Not to have a fluffy conversation with someone who agrees with you anyway.
Yeah, that's just, that just leaves me speechless, I think. So
You're never speechless.
We really hope you enjoyed the first part of our interview. We hope you enjoyed the content,
And if you haven't already subscribed, whichever platform you're listening on or watching from, and we'll catch you again for the next episode of Life Explored.